Hey, I'm Patrick with Rowdy Restorations. Today, we're at the Georgia National Antique Ag Show in Perry, Georgia. I'm in the indoor building right now. This is the Georgia Grown building, checking out the displays in here before it gets too busy. But this show goes on every year in November. It's the second weekend before Thanksgiving. And I've been coming down here since 2019. I really enjoy this show. We actually, they do a peanut thrashing demonstration, which I'll bring to y'all, and we also do plowing. Got the backfield on the far side of the property we do some plowing in. So, like I said, been coming here for a while, really enjoy this show. So why don't you all stay tuned and check it out. Here's a nice shot of the first load that we've got going down to Perry. And I say the first load because we've got it loaded up behind my truck and I'm running it down to South Carolina because Tobin was scared of the salt on the roads.
You know them Florida boys.
Yeah. So anyhow, had to pull over at the nice little view spot overlooking South Carolina, get this load dropped off down there at Tobin's truck, and then I'll go get hooked to the gooseneck, bring it down, meet up with him. All right, well, we made it after dark last night. There's what we brought on this load, and you all saw the other load that Tobin hauled down, so it's pretty much the same load we brought to Rantoul. But we'll get her unloaded here, get all this stuff set up. Got the disc, so of course that's more work to unload, but we'll get to use it. And then there's the 318 we've been working on for Oliver. Well, the sun's setting on day one here at Perry. Finally kind of got stuff put out here a little bit on display in our spot. The latest projects, I guess. We got the 318 all hooked up to the plow. We're gonna have it out there tomorrow. I don't know if the videos for it or the video for it is gonna come out before or after this video. We got Lee White and some guys from Alabama over here selling some parts. So this is just kind of like a little fun pull they do for the antique tractors on Thursday nights. The sleds you see are the garden tractor pullers, and they put on a pretty good show here Friday and Saturday with the hot rod garden tractor pullers. So these sleds aren't quite big enough for stopping most of these tractors that are out here. It's just to kind of put on a little demonstration. Original 430. That's what it's about right there, getting these youngsters out here doing this stuff so this hobby can keep going on. Wow, she's slipping. You're on the wrong end, Hamilton. Here he goes on a little 430. That's, I mean, that's a nice, clean original tractor right there. Let's see if it'll outpull the old Massey. Well, she's passing the holes from the Massey. I think she's got a little bit more gription than the Massey did. Yeah, look at her digging. Door. I don't know if this thing will run that long or not to even get it pulled off. Hey, not too bad for the first, hold on, I got you. There you go. Not too bad for the first run. I couldn't get it to stay running long enough to get it on the trailer before I got it here. Not too bad, huh? So Bodine here, this family, they always bring a lot of stuff out to display to this show. And they're set up in the building here. I guess they're out of Alabama. I thought they were out of this area, but they must be out of the next state over. But anyhow, they are IH collectors, and they always bring a lot of nice stuff out. There's a little Cub Cadet 70. I've had a few of those in my day. Farmall Cub. Now these Farmall Cubs and Then they built the Farmall A and then the 140s. Those were good cultivating tractors. They were offset like this. Check that out. So the driver would sit here and you're driving and you can look straight down at the crops that you're over while you're cultivating to make sure you don't tear them up. There's a IH86 Hydro. I don't know enough about the IH stuff to tell you what year range this is, but that's got to be 60s, maybe late 60s. Yeah, there's no sign on that one. So the 1206 is a 1967 model. Farmall 200, that must have replaced the Farmall H. There's a Super MTA, so that's a torque, what they call torque amplified. It's a gas motor one. Here's another high crop, Farmall HV. Plenty of clearance for going over crops. And then here's a Farmall Super AV, and see on its decal it actually says Cultivision. And there again, you're sitting on the seat. So this one would have been used to work bedded crops. When it's set up high like this, you'd seen these running over like pepper beds or cucumbers or whatever before they started laying plastic when they still had to cultivate. We actually did a restoration on a A for a farmer in South Florida, and down in South Florida they widened them out. They took two tractors essentially. They took the axle housing that you see right here, and they put another one on the other side and extended the left side of the tractor out, and then modified the front end and extended it out. That way it could run the wide beds that they use in South Florida. And we actually restored one of those tractors for him because it was his dad's tractor from the farm. There's a little tug. We saw some different variation of tractor built, I guess you could say tractor manufacturer built tugs up there at Oshkosh. It's a International 330 utility. Those are always neat little utility tractors. And then there's a Farmall H. We get down here into my speed a little bit better. A John Deere 730 diesel. This is number 64 of the 78 built. Original destination, Pompano Beach, Florida. Those are nice tractors right there now. So this is actually an electric start diesel high crop. So that'd have been the big dog in its day. That'd have been the biggest high crop tractor you could get in its time. Here's a nice 1953 GW. Check that out. Got the front set up wide. They got duals on the back. It says here this tractor originally shipped to Saskatchewan, Canada. And these guys are out of the Macon area, I believe, or Warner Robins. They are up the road from here a little bit. They're not too far away. Hyco Plantation. Shelby, I believe is his name. Warren Selby, that's it. Took me a minute. And then here's a GN to Mitchell, Nebraska originally. Now that is a little bit unique. I would say that the GN was originally shipped to Nebraska, because typically you saw those narrow fronts used down here in cotton or somewhere in a vegetable crop. Nebraska, I've always thought, was more of a small grain country, but you never know. Check that out. Big old buck barrel of cotton picker, spindle lube, and a nice little chainsaw. And then here is a 1947 model GN that originally went to Oregon. Look at that. Number 40 of 43 built. That's pretty cool. That one there doesn't. 52, they probably built a lot of them that year. 47 was a wartime G. Now here is a tractor that I am pretty sure most collectors, no matter what color they collect, would have in their collection if they could afford to get one, that is. Minneapolis Moline model UDLX. It was the first tractor really built with the cab, and then these tractors also had an extremely high road gear, and they were capable of running 40 miles an hour on the road. And they were marketed as an item to where a farmer could have one piece of equipment and he could work in the fields of a day, and then of an evening when he needed to go to town, he could jump in this thing, put her in road gear, and head on to town. Try to get you a shot inside of this one. There you go. So those are definitely cool tractors. That was like the most styled tractor that a feller could find in its day. And then they also had them available, which the more you know. Here you go. This is a quick rundown. 36 horsepower, 6,400 pounds, 40 miles an hour. It built 125 of them. The original price was $2,155. Now, with that said, they usually bring north of $100,000 now when they're on sale. Now this is something different right here that I have never seen before. This says that it is a 1938 Ford prototype tractor. Now that is cool. Look at that. It's got the 3-point hitch on it. Hey, I want you to look at the adjustment on the top link. It's got a little 2-cylinder opposed engine in it. Boy, that's unique. You don't see stuff like that very often. That is cool. I've never seen one of those before. The sign's giving a quick rundown on Henry Ford's family, or Henry Ford himself, I should say. Here's another oddball, a Graham Bradley. This is a 1938 Graham Bradley. Got a parade seat on this one, that's pretty cool. Very styled tractors for their time. And there's another handy size little utility tractor, International 424 diesel. It's definitely a handy size tractor to have around a small place to do a little bit of bush hogging work or whatever. And then here is a Ford 8N, and you'll notice that it does not have your stock motor in it, but I would say this is probably a funk conversion, although I'm not sure if it's an official funk conversion or not. Like Farmer John has two here that he's built that are not funk conversions. I do know the similarities on the inline 6-cylinder that Funk did. I restored one of those, so, but those flathead V8s are always pretty cool in those tractors. And Ford and Ferguson were partnered up in the early days, and they were the first ones to offer a 3-point. And they really took, I guess, what you would call the utility size market by storm, because that 3-point hitch is a super handy thing to have. Now I want you all to check out the display that Hamilton has got set up in the corner this year. Got the old scale for weighing the bales of cotton. Got a couple bales of cotton here. Got this one opened up that likes to fall over. But I know there's a lot of people out there that have probably never seen cotton in the form like this. Pretty cool. There's probably a lot of people out there. I got some North and Midwestern viewers here that have never ventured south to see some of the agriculture down here. There's probably a lot of stuff they haven't seen. So this is your normal peanut wagon, and somebody has made some really cool dividers. I believe this is set up so you can walk through it. I believe this is a display that one of the, I don't know how you'd say it, that they probably used during the fair to showcase the different, different types of peanuts and what it looks like and how it's done. But they set it up here perfect for the ag show with a John Deere number 111 peanut combine dumping in the bed right there. Got a nice little 430, all original condition hooked to it. 430W, I do believe. Let's see. Yes, 430W. And then there is John Deere 111 peanut combine. And that right there, folks, is one dusty job. You can get on Classic Green on Facebook, and Hamilton made some posts from when he was out running this combine this year. He actually got it out and ran it a little bit just to exercise it. But the reason that's so dusty is peanuts. Of course, some people may not know that. I've heard the saying that people think peanuts grow on trees, but a peanut is a root crop, so they have to run a digger down through the field first, and it inverts the peanuts and then lays them in a row in the field right here. So it inverts the peanuts, lays them in a row right there, and then after they dry, after they're allowed to dry, they come back and pick them up with a harvester or a combine and clean the peanuts, and then they get dumped into a buggy just like that. Now this area is also orchard country too. They don't have groves up here, I don't reckon. I reckon they're already in orchard country this far north. But this is one of Hamilton's tractors here, 620 LP Orchard. They made 92 of those tractors, and this one is a non-power steering tractor, which is actually a little bit more rare than the power steering tractors at this point. But yeah, this one is set up more like it would have been for Arkansas or Peach Country or something like that, because notice here it does not have the side screens on it. A citrus tractor would have had the side screens typically covering the engine area too, to keep the fruit out of there. There's a John Deere 420 LP utility. Got nice big turf tires on it too. That'd have been an ideal tractor. There you go, 1958, one of 6 made. That also would have been an ideal tractor to use in some sort of, like, you know, pecan, peach, or orchard operation, the way it was set up. And I don't know if this is the tractor that Bernie Scott had found down in Florida, and then of course it went to a different owner, or not, but it had worked. If it was, it worked in a citrus plant its entire life, hauling carts around and stuff, and that's why it was LP, so it could go inside. Now here is a 620, we can call this one a Grove tractor. That is a 620 Grove tractor, and actually I missed this on the other one. This is definitely a Grove tractor. This tractor was shipped to Central Florida when it was new, because these holes, when they're drilled and tapped right here on the 620s or the 60s and some of the other ones, sometimes they had one hole on the side, one hole drilled and tapped on the front right here. That was done in Florida on, it seems like, nearly every tractor that went down there, and these tractors carried a brush guard on them. They put a brush guard on the front of them to run down there in that citrus stuff, because that was some rough work. That was prior to hedging technology. So you had to drive down through the orange trees that were growing together to get down through and clean everything up, or to do your weed control. And see, he's got the headlight guard on there, which a lot of guys still keep the headlight guards. I've seen very few people that have put the grill guards back on them, and then see the screens to keep the fruit out of the engine. And I've heard several stories from the old timers that used to operate this stuff. So when you'd be riding back here, you know, you would stand up to see where you were going. So that's your view when you stood up, or depending on how tall you are, you would stand up to see where you were going, and then you would duck down if you were working in a tight grove. And I've talked to several guys that have said that they had to stay ducked down in some of the old established groves, and you had to watch out these side screens right here and watch for the tree stumps, so you knew you were still going straight down the row in between the trees and not running into something. And then that's why they got so beat up back in the day. So the John Deeres, you could sit here and you could look out the holes in those screens to see where you were going, and hide behind that operator guard, and the trees would be sweeping over top of you. And this is definitely a common setup for Florida. Even the day of the 620, they didn't really use hydraulics much. They had carry-alls to carry the discs around and stuff like that. I will get over here to something I do not know much about at all, and that's cotton pickers. I believe this is a 22. Hamilton's going to have to step up. He's got a really nice display here, but he's going to have to step up his game on the display boards that tell about these things. So anyhow, this is a single row cotton picker. It's a short drum style, and see, you would go down through, and these spindles right here spin as you drive by, and when you're driving your ground speed, those are actually moving back across the plant at the same ground speed. So they basically just stab into the plant and spin the cotton off and come back out of the plant as you're driving. And then that pulls the cotton up, picks it right off the plant without ripping the plant out of the ground. It's really an amazing piece of technology that they came up with. I guess it's my understanding that John Deere really wasn't necessarily the one that developed the technology, but they really did a good job. Or they didn't come up with the idea to pick it that way, but they did a really good job developing it. So they were kind of the leader in the cotton picker industry, is my understanding. I may be a little bit wrong there, but... And then this is what they call a tractor mounted picker, and you'll see that's on a 420 tricycle tractor. So this is a low drum picker. A high drum picker of the day would be about like that. Your new cotton pickers, it seems like they're about that tall, because, you know, of course, technology and even plant genetics and stuff like that, they can get taller plants. All right, this here is Corbett Farms cotton stripper. Mac was telling me about this. Apparently they have just added this to the collection. It was living in Illinois, and I did see this come up on auction, and had went through the almond auction, and they were able to get it purchased and actually had it delivered straight to the show right here. So this is a really cool setup that you would have seen in Texas, and it's definitely that country, you know what I'm saying, because it's running on LP. It's very common to see LP tractors in that area in the day. And then also the other thing that makes this very unique, and that is that it is a cotton stripper. So the cotton strippers were made for the lower yield cotton that they encountered out in Texas and areas like that. The drier climate where they still try to grow cotton, it was a lot lower yield. I do believe they even grew cotton as far as Arizona and places like that, New Mexico and Arizona, I think. So this stripped the cotton off of the plants instead of picking it off of the plants like the 420 did. So it was a lot dirtier cotton when they got done. It was not really clean. Like those cotton bales you see up there that are super clean, it was not near as clean as those. Pretty sure it tore the plants up a lot worse. That's actually super unique too. Look at it. This thing has horizontal exhaust too out the back. That's cool. But anyhow, yeah, so the cotton stripper technology was just a different way of harvesting the cotton. They said it wasn't anywhere near as clean, but it still got the job done, especially in the lower yield cotton. I'm pretty sure it went through the field a lot faster. Here's another Florida Grove tractor. This tractor came out of Central Florida. Now resides in Mr. Hamilton's collection, but Mr. Brad, I think it was Brad Hobson, or Brad Hobson might have been his son. I can't remember now, it's been many a years. But he had this tractor down there in Central Florida, and Hamilton found out about it one way or another. And this tractor is a super clean original tractor. They did not restore it. Believe it may have had a paint job put on it. Well, Noah had a paint job put on it at some point in its life, but more or less just to preserve what was there. You know, a lot of places did that. A lot of people put a paint job on them to preserve what was there, but it has not been beat up or abused, or don't even think it really had a full restoration. It's super original tractor. It's got a few odd things on it like this reservoir and stuff like that, but that was kind of a common thing to do on them. And it's of the generation to where the tag is right out here on the frame too. I believe that would be like 66, 67, can't remember for sure. Definitely prior to 69. That's another one of your Florida Grove tractors. Nice little John Deere 320 standard. Let's pretend that's a 1957. It's got the horizontal exhaust on it too. Here's a super cool tractor right here. He restored this one several years ago, brought it to several shows. John Deere 330 with the sickle mower on it. So that's got your highway mower. So that would have been common, your different municipalities and states and stuff like that. They would have had these tractors set up with sickle mowers like that for mowing the roadsides. Here's a 420 high crop. Notice it's all green, so I think it's safe to assume that this is a phase 1 420 high crop. The 20 series tractors, or the 420s in particular, had a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. So its serial number is 86245. Now I don't have all the serial numbers and stuff memorized off the top of my head, but the reason why they had a phase 1, 2, and 3 was they had change in production throughout the life of that tractor. The very first ones that were introduced were all green. That was a very short run, and then they added the yellow stripe to the hood for phase 2 and 3. And here is a really cool tractor. I don't know how or why, but it seems like maybe it's because there was so many in our area, but it seems like several of these Case 730s running on LP were able to survive in really good condition. I happen to have owned one of these tractors myself back in the day. I never got it running, but I bought it and then ended up selling it to a fellow collector that was down in Central Florida, near the coast, near the West Coast. And I'd venture to say it probably wasn't in quite this good a condition, but it was in nearly this good a condition. But it was not running. So these tractors were really, really popular in Central Florida, and they were really popular on LP, which is why I believe that John Deere probably stepped up and made the 60 and 620 Orchard LPs, or we'll call them Grove LPs. I think it had a lot to do with it. That Central Florida market, and Pounds Motor Company is actually the one that took and modified a lot of these Case tractors. And in the early days, before they offered propane, they modified them to run on propane. And they even made the side shields and stuff. Of course, here's your Central Florida grill guard for working in the orange groves. The only thing this tractor is really missing, well, it would have a side shield right here to cover that. And then the other thing it's missing is the fishing pole sticking up off of the grill guard right there to keep the banana spiders off of you. So, super cool tractor. Very fitting. Big old banner of orange grove up right behind it. Hamilton's into the International Scouts a little bit too. So there's a really nice Scout, and I guess International pickup. Farmer John set up with his parts. We got to see him not too long ago when we went and picked up the Oliver at his place. Got a little glimpse of these tractors when we were there. I'll go kick them in the butt later and get them to crank these up for you guys, and we'll run them a little bit. I want you all to check this thing out right here now. Look at this. Silver King, State of Ohio, Department of Highways. That is the wildest loader I think I have ever seen on a tractor. Check out the hoops up front here. The chain hooks onto the loader there and runs over that hoop and it hooks on the end of that cylinder. And I guess that's what does the lifting, and then you got these cylinders here for the dump. I just thought that was pretty interesting. Whoever has it is obviously I guess a connoisseur of Silver Kings, I guess one would say. Check that out. Look at that. That's probably another highway department tractor with a sickle mower on it. They'd use that for mowing roadsides, and then there's your typical row crop setup for farming. Pretty darn cool. Look at that. United Implements out of Lexington, Ohio. Check out the 6030 that they drove in. This is a local tractor, I think off the Bledsoe farm. They drove it in here yesterday right from the farm. Big old inline injector pumps on these things. Check out some of the tractors from the Corbett farm. These guys farm down in South Georgia, Lake Park, Georgia area. This one's actually Buck Means tractor here. He's out of Mississippi. 520 propane. The 2-bottom plow. Buck likes bringing stuff out to work with at the shows, that's for sure. There's a nice little 430 standard. Got a little footage of this one with them pulling it last night at the tractor pulls. A little early, I guess, here. The lighting's not that great. But if I wait too late in the day, this stuff's all going to be out other places. There's a nice little 420 high crop. I don't know where this one's ending up in the footage, but this would either be a phase 2 or 3. There's a all green one, a phase 1 high crop that's up inside the Georgia Grown building that you'll also see in the video. Here's a 40 high crop, so the 40s would have been the predecessor to the 420s. And you can look at them there and see there's a whole lot of similarities between the two. And here's a nice 620 LP Orchard that is now residing in South Georgia. This was actually Mr. Jerry Horn's tractor. I can find out for sure what part of the world it was sent to new, but it does not currently have the holes drilled and chapped in the chassis, so probably not shipped to Florida. It does have the turfs and stuff on it, turf tires on it, but it has the weed burner exhaust. So that's another one of 92, so there's 2 of 92 here at this show. And then I guess he made him a package deal and sold the old Hardy orchard sprayer with it.
There's about 3 or 4 of them up there, but like I say, they still do it.
So that would have been a common combination that you would have seen back in the day. Orchard tractor, they'd have pulled that sprayer and then run the hose up, and the driver could sit there and stand on the tractor and spray the trees as they went by. All original hand start A. They pulled that one last night. Here's JD's Massey Ferguson 50 that I guess he's picked up here. And then there's a Massey Ferguson 150. This one's got tall rubber on it. I think it's a row crop configuration with some spin out wheels on it, but I'm not sure. I don't know enough details on the Masseys as to whether that would have been considered a high crop, but I don't think so. And hopefully there'll be plenty of content on this thing coming out soon, because that is probably going home with us. Little 2-bottom disc plow. Gonna see if I can fit it in the truck. Bring that back to Cashers. And here is a custom job right here. Let me get on the other side so you can see a little better with the sun. But that is a G standard LP. No point in getting your books out on that one to see what the production numbers were on it, because it's a one of none. Somebody's did a front axle swap on it and put some wheel equipment on it, some fenders, and custom built G standard LP. So that's a pretty cool tractor. Definitely not going to see many of those around. Now, it was not terribly unusual to see the LP conversion on some of these tractors, because when they ran down in the south, that was a very popular fuel to burn down here because it was cheap. Here's a 70 standard with power steering, and I believe this is a pony start tractor. Yes, it is. So you guys that follow the channel, there is your V4 pony motor installed on a tractor if you're not familiar with them. And this may come as a huge surprise to some of you guys, but Mac has said that he's had problems with this one not running right. So what a shocker. That's why I was so amazed that the pony motor that we got running for Ben and them ran as good as it did. Now this tractor here is definitely, this is a factory configuration on this tractor for sure. And they'll be plowing with it, so we'll get footage of that. They got a 4-bottom plow hooked up to it. Time to start plowing. That's what's nice about this place. They've got this whole field out here set out for us to plow in. And then over across the road, they own that property too, but now they've got the University of Georgia is doing a bunch of test plot farming over there, so that's going to be pretty cool. Be able to kind of integrate that stuff in, and once everybody gets kind of a little bit better feel for what's going on, probably be able to do some tours over there. And the timing is always very, very close to being able to harvest the crops, cotton, peanuts, and stuff during this show. There's a nice John Deere R. So there's the lineup of the plow and disc tractors. And I think the fella that does all the social media stuff for the show is going to launch his drone and get a picture of them. Not a bad looking lineup. Yeah, long pipe. Now, and that John Deere plow is staying in the ground even as hard as it is, but you can see it's shaking the plow. That one's getting the job done. Look at how hard that is. I thought the ground and ran tool was hard. It doesn't hold a candle to this. That Georgia clay, man. Max riding on the drawbar there so he can try to get it adjusted. See, it's starting to pull up out of the ground now. Have not done the disc any favors today. Well, that'll be it for episode 1 from the Georgia National Ag Show in Perry, Georgia. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. As always, like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you a dime and it really helps out the channel. And then also don't forget, next year, November 12th, will be the 250 years of agriculture, and that'll be held here at this location. And then the following year in 2027, this will be the site for Classic Green Reunion. So really look forward to seeing you guys down here. We really enjoy this venue. And as always, stay tuned. And also stay tuned for episode 2 from here. Thank you guys.